All right, guys, I am here with Jeff Cantor, my representative from Health Excellence Select. I know a lot of you guys have heard the advertisement on the Lions of Liberty podcast. A lot of people have been asking me some questions about it, so I decided to bring in Jeff for a few minutes here just to talk about a few of the questions people have had about Health Excellence Select. Jeff, how you doing?
I am doing great. Hi, Mark. Great to be here.
Always great to talk to you, Jeff. I'm always talking to you behind the scenes, and we've spent so much time talking about this, but when people just hear a quick little ad on the show or read a little blurb, they might not get the full scope of exactly what Health Excellence Select is. So why don't we start there? What exactly is Health Excellence Select?
Well, the idea for most people is to have something that allows you to pay for medical bills, but there's a lot more to it because, it's okay to be reactive in terms of having something for your house. If my house burns down, something pays for that. If I have a car accident, something pays for that. But when you're talking about your health and your body, you don't want to wait till it breaks down and then something starts to do something for you. So what Health Excellence Select does is it's able to take care of you in a proactive way to help develop and improve your health and ward off the need to have a doctor or hospital come in at the 12th hour and bail you out. But if in fact something does happen, then all your medical bills are paid for just the same like they would be in any other way. But the most important part is the front end. It's giving you that wellness component and also giving you an assistance. So we work 24 hours a day because, people have health issues at odd hours and then your doctor's closed. And that's why so many people end up at the emergency room. So you have a doctor you can call around the clock. And then also you have an assistant because the key for most people is they're so busy or they don't know much about anything. So if you have somebody who's in that profession, like why somebody hires a realtor, because, they need to be able to learn about the houses and they don't have enough expertise on their own. So they get a professional. Similarly, we provide you with your own professional health assistant who can look up pricing for you. So if you need to get an MRI, you make sure you get the best priced one. And if you need to find a new doctor, or if you just even want to book an appointment because you're real busy, you're at work. And anytime I seem to have to book an appointment is when I'm at work, you call your assistant, you tell them to book the appointment and they'll do it for you. So it kind of gives you everything you need for the emergency side of the medical world, as well as all the actually what you're going to do every day reality so that you are protected on both sides of your life.
So you guys are basically guiding people through this healthcare process, making it so they don't have to deal with hardly anything, and doing it all at a much more affordable cost than most people are going to get from their Obamacare insurance plan. Now, what's the main difference between health sharing and the current model of insurance that so many people are used to? Because people do need to realize that there is some differences here, but and it might be scary to hear health sharing. What's that? But when you actually understand what it is and how it works in practice, I think people will be a lot more amenable towards it. So why don't you clarify what those differences are?
Well, on the basic of all basic levels, the bigger difference is that it's a nonprofit. So if you just think of it that way, and what a lot of people have said that have been, becoming members with this has said, I don't mind that the doctor makes money and, I make money when I go to work and I don't mind that the hospital makes money. They're performing a service, but I just don't quite like the idea of somebody making money on my bills. And so, you have to think, what does that entity provide for most people other than just churning their bills? You have a card in your wallet, you give it to the doctor, they get the bill, it gets repriced or something ends up back in your pocket, and then you have to pay so much out of your pocket besides what you pay per month. So they're really just kind of a bill processing. And basically, in some respects, we are too, at least in that part of what we do, but we're just do that in a nonprofit way. Well, that right there makes an enormous difference because you have to imagine those other entities have advertising budgets and all kinds of salespeople to pay and executives and shareholders. So, they have a lot of overhead. So they have to build it into the price because somebody has to pay for it. And, some of the ways that they try to keep those profits is to prevent certain treatments from being done or paying doctors less money. And so it creates a lot of problems out there for the consumer and for the doctor because they're both kind of getting the short end of the stick. And so we solve that problem by making sure that the patient can get what they want or need by being able to go to any doctor, and the doctor can recommend any treatment or medication or whatever it may be, and they're going to get that taken care of without somebody superseding that and saying, oh, no, we don't want to pay for that. And then, you have the flexibility of having a lower price so you can actually have a life of your own so you're not spending all your money just to pay for something that you really only need a lot of the time in case something bad happens. And for most people, that's once in a blue.
So, Jeff, who is Health Excellence Select for? Now, some people might have a very serious illness or injury already, and in their case, it might make sense just to go for the Obamacare insurance where you cannot be denied. And other people, they might have really cushy, great insurance that their employer completely pays for, so it might not apply to them. But there's a rare, very large middle group in there that this is going to help a lot. So why don't you describe the kind of person that should use this service?
You've kind of nailed it on the head. Anybody that's in business for themselves, it's like a 1099 employee, like a real estate agent is a prime example, or somebody who's like a home inspector entity. There might be one or two people that work in that business. Legally, we can sell to anybody that's 49 employees or below. If you're 50 and above, the Affordable Care Act requires you to have a group health insurance available to your employees. So we don't really look for that kind of a business. We can do business with some of them because sometimes, let's say it's a husband and wife, and the husband works at this business, so he gets a cushy paid policy like you described. But if he wants to add his wife, then for her, she's going to have to pay super high retail price compared to his share. So she might buy our program as a standalone because it'll be much cheaper for her than to try to tack onto the husband's, but he'll stay with that company one. But for those smaller businesses below that, we want to take care of all the people in there that are paying out of their own pocket. Who we don't really fit in that same vein is the person, let's say there's a real estate agent as an example again, but they sell like one or two homes a year and they only make like $13,000 or $14,000. Well, this wouldn't be for them because they could get a subsidy on the exchange and get Obamacare for very, very low price, and much lower than even I cost. But if you're the kind of person making a pretty good income, like $35,000 and above, then you're going to pay, $500 a month for your regular product. And I'm only $249 for a single person by comparison. So I'm 50% of the price for that particular person. So that's kind of our sweet spot, is they're not qualifying for much of it, because if you only get $5 off on the exchange, that's not going to mean much, $5 off of $500. But if you're getting a really big, steep price break, then this isn't for you. And just like you sort of mentioned, we will take most everybody, but if they're in really, really, problematic health, or they're in the middle of health treatments this moment, then they definitely are better suited to go to the exchange and find a normal health insurance product, because that's the kind of product that's ideal for that particular person.
And one thing I want to address about the cost as well, because it's possible you might find some similar plans out there that for a little bit more than the Health Excellence Select plan, you can get what you might call a normal insurance plan. But the trick is in the deductible, because when you look at that deductible, you're going to realize the deductible, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. But with health sharing through you guys, $500 and you're fully covered after that. So that's a major difference, because you're not going to even, whatever your monthly payment is, you also have to factor in how much you have to spend before you see any benefit from that.
There's no question, and that is an important difference. But, like I said a little earlier, if I talk to most people, health insurance ends at 65 typically, because the person becomes part of Medicare. And typically that's when most people get sick. So when I sold health insurance over the years, the chance of somebody having much of a health problem between 30 years old and 64 years old is relatively low. And if they do, it's one time every 10th year something happened. They broke their leg, or I had a gallbladder removed or something, that was kind of in and out, and that was it. But yet every month, year after year, they're paying for this thing that's really doing not much for them and just costing a lot of money.
Now, Jeff, the last question I have is a question that I actually get a lot, because a lot of this sounds so good, it almost sounds too good to be true. So the question, Jeff, is this legit?
Yes. In fact, the history of this thing is over 30 years. One of the requirements of the Affordable Care Act is that any of the companies engaged in this business have to have been created over 30 years ago. So they kind of grandfathered in a variety of companies that were out there of this ilk, and other types of things that are exemption, like for the Amish people and things of that nature, that are kind of grandfathered in as an existing and exempt program, which is why we're able to be out there and functioning and be a welcome substitute, because it's recognized by the Affordable Care Act. So if you have this, you're not going to be subjected to those fines and penalties. But the truth of it is, because it's a nonprofit, that becomes the real difference. So I tell most people you have to think of the question a little different way. Rather than saying, why is this so inexpensive? We tell everybody, look, this is what it really truly costs. This is like your brother-in-law who's in the furniture business and is able to get access to discounted pricing. So we're like the real cost of things. In fact, the health insurance product is marked up and is at a retail price. So that's a huge difference. And so that becomes the kind of the differential. The question you really should be asking is, why are they so expensive?
Absolutely. And I can attest that this service is legit, because I recently had a medication that I had to purchase. I did pay out of pocket for it, and I submitted my claim, and I got back a check for that amount. So, because I had reached my $500 deductible. So it works. I've already experienced it. It is absolutely legit. Jeff, before I let you go, why don't you just tell everybody, if they're interested in this, if they're interested in the service, Health Excellence Select, how can they contact you, and how can they personally reach out and find out more information?
Well, as a courtesy to Mark's listening audience, you certainly have the privilege of calling me directly, and I'd be glad to try to help out as much as I can. Mark's been fabulous, and everybody that's out there trying to help save the medical profession from itself in many respects, we want to kind of help. So you can call me directly at 440-283-2333. 888-6849 and identify yourself as one of the Lines of Liberty listeners, or if you leave a message for that purpose. Or you can email me at jkanter, so it's JKANTER, at myahe.org. And you'll see Mark has some links on his site so you can actually get over and take a look at the program and actually enroll yourself. Or if you want some assistance, because we provide that too, we're very hands-on, call me and we'll make sure you get with an enroller who will actually do the enrollment for you and save you the inconvenience of having to get on the computer and do it yourself.
Yep, and as Jeff referenced, you can find out even more information over at lionsofliberty.com/health. And of course, you can contact Jeff himself. And Jeff, thank you so much for joining me here for a few minutes. I know a lot of people have been interested in this and had a lot of questions, so I'm glad we could sort some of this stuff out. And again, he's making himself completely available. So if you have any questions, feel free to call Jeff. He'll